of life, the soul of life,
Okay.
and man became a living soul.
Okay.
Vayita Adonai Elohim gan ve'eden mikedem vayasem sham et ha'adam asher yatzar. And God, Vayita, like God planted a garden in Eden to the east, and he put there the man that he had formed.
I am.
Yeah. This is testing my Hebrew skills because I don't have the translation. ויצמח אדוני אלוהים מן האדמה כל עץ נחמד למראה וטוב למאכול ועץ החיים בתוך הגן ועץ הדעת טוב ורע. Okay. And God sprouted from the earth all desirous trees to look at and good to eat, and the tree of life in the middle of the garden, and also the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
Okay.
We talked about that in Daniel. Chamuda, right? Nechmad,
Right.
right? That was the whole thing.
Okay. I'll pause here for just a second to ask you how your other translations read this pasuk. So we have Yitzmach Hashem Elokim min ha'adama kol eitz nechman l'mar v'tov l'machal. Fine. So God caused to sprout every tree that was pleasing to the sight and good for food. And now I'd like to understand how they translate the second sentence here. Ve'etz ha'chaim b'toch hagan ve'etz hadat tov v'ra. What do you got?
Mine follows Charles.
Wow, how about that?
Which is?
It's every tree lovely to look at and good for food. Wait. Oh, it was in tree of life was in the midst of the garden, the tree of knowledge, good and evil.
The tree of knowledge. Okay. Any other translations? Same
Good
thing.
and bad.
Good and bad. Where is the tree of good and bad?
Right. That's why
We don't
I
have
separate them.
the tree of life, like.
I don't have them next to each other in the Fleischner translation because the Vav, I think, separates them. That's my personal opinion.
In other words, the first part of that sentence says, "Ve'etz ha'chaim b'toch hagan." The tree of life is in the middle of the gan.
And also, guess what? There's a tree of knowledge of good and bad somewhere in the garden.
So is it? And there's also in the middle of the garden, parentheses, the tree of knowledge of good and bad, or is it going back on the first sentence? Vayitzmach Hashem Elokim. God caused to sprout all this stuff, and He caused to sprout the tree of life in the middle of the garden, and the Eitz Hadas is also something else He caused to sprout,
in
like
the garden,
back on the original.
Yeah. That's
clause.
also a thing in the garden, but that's not necessarily in the middle of the garden.
So the two trees are not together in your reading. And anyone else want to offer a different reading, or we're good with that?
Well,
That's fine.
Any of the wordings are going to be ambiguous in terms of how you just translate it. No matter how they.
You could read it either way. I like that. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Let's keep going, please.
V'nahar yotze me'eden lahashkot et hagan umisham yipared v'haya la'arba rashim. And a river goes out from Eden to nourish or to water the garden. Okay, umisham, and from there it separates and it became like four heads.
Right, meaning it branched out in four different ways.
Right. Okay. And incidentally, we don't talk about it like that, but I always thought from this pasuk, that Eden and Gan Eden are two different places.
There's a Gemara in Chagiga like that.
Yeah.
That Eden, it talks about the size of different things, and Eden is one size, and the Gan is a different size.
Yeah. So anyhow, that's what I got from there.
Okay.
Okay. Shem ha'echad pishon hu hasovev et kol eretz hachavila asher sham hazahav. Right. Mm-hmm. So the name of one is Pishon, and this goes around all of the land of Chavila. Mm-hmm. Okay. And there's the gold.
Right.
That's where the gold is at,
this
guys.
Has driven
if you want to know the treasure, this is the city of this is where the lost treasure is.
Yeah, just ask Harrison for it.
Yeah. Okay. Uzahav.
Who's
Again, they won't let the poor guy stop making movies. He's been dead for 15 years. They don't care. They're just-
Incredible.
Who?
Harrison Ford.
Oh,
There's another Indiana Jones in the,
Oh,
in
wow.
the making.
All right. Uzahav.
Indiana Jones in the gold wheelchair. No, he's not.
No, it's not.
No, he's like in his 70s.
No.
Uzahav.
He's been in his 70s for 20 years.
Uzahav haaretz hahi tov sham habedolach ve'evan hashoham. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Good luck with those.
right. And gold of the land of that land is good. And there is the bedolach, which I don't know how to translate.
Neither does anyone else. They translate it here as bdellium.
Uh-huh. And there is and the shoham stone, the foundation stone. I guess.
Anyone want to offer some translations for
Sure.
bedolach and Evan HaShoham?
How about lapis lazuli?
Lapis lazuli. That's what I've got too.
Lapis lazuli.
Sure is.
Like a special that's like a special kind of like azure stone, right?
Blue.
Yeah, it's like a
Geologist.
Yeah.
Know exactly what that is.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay. V'shem hanahar hasheni Gihon hu hasovev et kol eretz Kush, and the name of the second river is Gihon. Okay, and this goes around all of the land of Kush, which is Ethiopia. I guess sometimes we say. Gihon is like related to the Nachash, right? Like, doesn't it go?
Oh, Gachoncha.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's I always connected those two in my head. I don't know if they're actually connected. Okay.
I mean, we don't have any other record of Gihon as a river. The
Right.
first two rivers we don't have any record of. The second two are like well known.
Gihon is the name of the spring in the valley
Yes.
outside Jerusalem.
Yes. But
Yeah.
as a river that goes around the land of Kush, we don't have that.
Right. B'shem hanahar
Is there a
hashlishi.
river around Ethiopia?
Not that.
It's all dry, it's all land, it's all, no rivers.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
And there's no indication that there was one a while back and it dried up.
All right.
Okay. B'shem hanahar hashlishi chidekel hu haholich kidmat asher v'hanahar arvi hu frat. So, the name of the third river is Chidekel. Okay, and this goes around facing Assyria.
Right.
And
Chidekel is the Tigris River.
okay.
Gone into Tigris, though.
Okay, fine. Okay, and this faces Assyria, and the fourth river, this is Prat, which is Euphrates.
Correct.
I remember, Tigris, Euphrates, right?
There you go.
Okay, keep going.
Let's keep going.
Vayikach Adonai Elohim et ha'adam, vayanichehu v'gan Eden la'avda u'lashamra. Okay, and God took the man, vayanichehu, and he rested him in the Garden of Eden to work and to protect
It.
it. Sorry.
To till and rend it.
Right.
Till
Right.
and
Rend.
rend? Interesting.
10.
Oh, okay.
Watch over.
Vayitzav Adonai Elohim al ha'adam lemor mikol eitz hagan achol tolchel. Okay, and God commanded the man, saying, "From all of the trees of the garden you will surely eat. Ume'etz hadat tovara lo tochal mimenu ki b'yom achalcha mimenu mot tamut." And from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, you will not eat. You do not eat from it, because for on the day that you eat from it, you'll surely die.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Vayomer Adonai Elohim lo tov heyot ha'adam levado e'eseh lo ezer knegdo. And God said, it's not good for man to be by himself. I will make for him a helper against him, a helpmate against him.
Against him.
Yeah.
For him.
For him. Anyone else?
Corresponding to him.
Corresponding.
A sustainer beside him.
Sustainer beside him. I've got a fitting counterpart for him.
Uh-huh.
I think those translations put it more Even footing.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going according to the Gemara. If he's zoche, and if not,
Kenegdo, lenegdo.
yeah. Vayitzer Adonai Elohim min ha'adama kol chayat hasadeh ve'et kol of hashamayim vayavei el ha'adam lirot ma yikra lo v'chol asher yikra lo ha'adam nefesh chaya hu shemo. And God formed from the earth all the beasts of the field and all of the birds of the heavens, and God brought them to see. God and brought them to the man to see what he will call to them, and all that he calls them, all that the man calls to them, the beasts of the living beasts. That is their name.
Right. So I'll just point out again the difference between Parak Aleph and Parak Bet, that in Parak Aleph, in Parak Bet you have man created before animals.
Right.
Versus Parak Bet you have the other way around. Okay, let's keep going.
Okay. A lot of good questions coming up.
Yeah, I
Okay.
hope so.
So he's naming everybody and rejecting them at the same time. Right?
Well, he hasn't rejected them yet.
Right. No, God's just bringing him to see what he'll call them. Like, God's just like, hey,
What's this?
right. He's like, hey, I'm gonna make you a woman, but why don't we play a name game first?
Well, no, he didn't say anything about a woman. He said, "I'm
He
going to
said,
make."
I'm gonna make him a helper again. Right. Okay, fine. Right.
Let's keep going.
Okay. Vayikra ha'adam shemot l'chol ha'behema ul'of ha'shamayim ul'chol chayat hasadeh ul'adam lo matza ezer kenegdo. Ah, right. Okay, fine. And man called names to all of the beasts and the birds of the heavens. Okay, and to all the I guess all the animals and all the birds of the heavens and all the beasts of the field. Well, and the man did not find a helpmate against him.
Okay.
Okay. Vayapel Adonai Elohim tardema al ha'adam, vayishan vayikach achat mitzalo tav, vayiskor basar tachtena. Okay. And God fell a great, I want to say, darkness on the man, and he slept.
Tardema is a slumber. Does
Right.
anyone else have anything for Tardema?
Deep sleep.
Deep sleep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, everyone says deep sleep. Right,
Okay.
with on the man, and he slept, and God, I guess this, and God took from one of his sides, and he closed up the flesh underneath.
Very delicate translation there. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to do my best.
You're
This
doing-
is Fleischner's translation.
That's
I don't
great.
know what I'm talking about.
No, you're.
Sides of ribs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so traditionally people translate as rib, but I think side is probably a better. They have
Yeah.
side.
Yeah, sounds good.
No, this one has
I
ribs.
have rib.
Yeah.
It's a tradition.
Yeah. Okay. Vayiven Adonai Elohim et hatzela asher lakach min ha'adam liisha vayiviah el ha'adam. Okay. Okay. And God built the side that he took from the man to a woman, and he brought it to the man.
Should have been like when somebody has like a war scar or something where they'll feel it during the rain, like anytime like Sean Bias.
Yeah, like his rheumatism acts up.
Yeah.
That trickney of mine. Vayomer ha'adam zot hapam etzem me'atzamai uvasar mibsari lezot yikarei isha ki me'ish lukacha zot. Okay, and the man said, this time the essence is from my essence.
Essence.
I mean, bones of my bones, really. That's really what it, that's literally, this time the bones of my bones and the flesh of my flesh for this, we'll call woman, because from the man this was taken. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Al kain ya'azav ish et aviv ve'et imo v'davak be'ishto v'hayu levasar echad. Therefore, a man will leave his father and his mother and cleave to his wife, and they will become one flesh.
Okay.
What's correlation?
Good question.
We're gonna get
We're gonna get
we're
to
gonna
it.
go
We've got
back
one
and
more
ask
pasuk.
questions for each pasuk. Let's do the last one.
Vayiyu shnehem arumim ha'adam ve'ishto velo yitboshashu. Okay, yitboshashu. Okay, and they were both naked, the man and the woman, and they were not embarrassed.
Right. So everyone translates Yitboshashu as embarrassed,
Ashamed.
shamed,
Someone.
embarrassed. Okay. I will offer.
Don't know,
I have not seen this anywhere, so again, feel free to discount it. Human comes from humus,
Yeah.
right? The earth. So below Yitboshashu, I would translate as they were not humiliated. They did not. They didn't feel their humanity. That's
Interesting.
okay.
I like
let's
that.
let's go back to pasuk. Well, pasuk Dalet, I should say, and let's start asking our questions. Unless no one has any questions, in
I
which
feel
case
somewhat proud of myself. I only really
That was
didn't
great.
get a couple of words.
that was great. You killed it.
Congrats, you did it.
Haven't studied it
Congrats,
since first
you did
grade.
it. Huh? What?
You haven't studied Bereshis since second grade.
Right.
Yeah. I'm a third grader.
Okay. Elato Shemaim Ba'aretz Bihi Baram. These are the stories. You had generations of Shemaim Ba'aretz. Bihi Baram. Anyone have an interesting translation for Bihi Baram? As they are being created, when they were created.
With their creation.
The Medrash talks about Behei Baram, Ba'avraham, if you rearrange the letters over here. B'yom, on the day that Asos Hashem Elokim. So this is the first time we have Hashem Elokim, right? Last parak was just Elokim. Now we have Hashem Elokim, Eretz v'Shamayim, and here you get that same envelope structure where it starts with Shamayim v'Aretz, and then it ends with Aretz v'Shamayim, the inverse.
Right.
Are we okay with all of this? No questions for Pasuk Dalet?
There's something, I forgot what it is, but there's something that the sages say that anytime you hear Ela Toldot,
Yeah.
I forgot what it says.
So this goes to what we ended off with last week, which
Yeah.
is Ela is pasal ala rishonim. It disqualifies everything that comes before.
Uh-huh.
Ve'ela is like we start with Shemos. Ve'ela Shemos is a continuation.
Right.
If you have Ve'ela, it's a continuation from what's before. If you have Ela, Toldo Shamayim Ba'aretz, it means whatever came before
Right.
is no good, is puzzle, and you're starting fresh.
Right. Okay. So, right. So it's like God starting over.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm. So why does the verse invert itself in terms of order? God made, so these are the generations of heaven and earth, with God's creating on the day that God created earth and heaven.
Right.
Maybe it's to teach us that it really made it all at the same exact time.
It's also
Could be.
That's where we go with that.
the tenses of the pasuk are switching.
Yeah.
Where do you see that?
Ela told us a Shemayim Ba'aretz, present tense. Like
Mhm.
that. Okay. Yeah,
Oh, but I hear tenses are changing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to Pasuk 5, unless we have anything else. Pasuk Dalet. So all the shrubs of the field before
Not conversations.
no,
Is conversations spelled differently?
no,
Same way.
it's
Same
right. It
word.
is the same word.
So,
How do you know the difference? I think it's just context. But Rashi brings the medrash that where's here? I'll read it to you.
see, when you have me translate, you get the Baal Tshuva perspective because my Hebrew's so limited.
You did a grand job.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thanks.
Well, where is it? Is that Rashi? I'll have to find it for you. But there's the reason it's called siach. There's like a play on words between speech and grass. I'll have to find it for you. It's not in Rashi. So all the stuff before it was on the ground, and all the grass of the field before it sprouted. So it was not above ground. It was still below ground because because God didn't make it rain on the land, and there's no person to work the adama.
Right. And it looks like God made all this stuff like like made to order, like
ready to go.
right, like instant popcorn, like God ships it, and it's just like just add water and or
Right.
just pop it in the microwave for for 3 minutes, and then it's done. From the previous pasuk where it says Behi Baram,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and then it says, but they weren't ready yet, I guess, because they were still in the frozen freezer bag, like frozen mozzarella sticks or whatever.
Right.
Like they hadn't been cooked yet, but they were ready. Like everything was made, it just wasn't like cooked or
Right.
finished.
So, where is it? So Rashi says there was no person around. What?
Would that do with it?
Kilohim tier. So Rashi says Lefisha Adam Ayin Lavodet Hadama Ve'ein Makir B'Tovasan Shel Geshamim. There's no man around to recognize how great it would be that when it rains, stuff starts to grow. Ukeshaba Adam V'Yada Shehim Tzarach Lo Olam Hispalal Aleim. So then when man comes and he sees that the ground needs rain, he davens for them. V'Yardu, and then it rains. V'Tzmachu Ha'ilanos V'Deshayim, and everything grows.
Do they talk about
That's
this at
Rashi.
the beginning of Tanis? The whole thing with Gvurat Geshamim and all that?
I don't know.
I wonder if they bring the psukim
That's the
here.
translation of work in the soil.
Right. So the play over there is v'adam ein la'avod et hadama, means avod as in like avodat shebelev. There was no man to daven on behalf of the adama and recognize that this is the cycle.
Right, because I mean, like, what really would a man do? I mean, it's just like
That's I think the obvious question, which is there's no man to work the adama. Why do you need a man to work the adama?
right. If we're not around, rainforests can grow by themselves. What do you need us for?
Does everyone hear that question?
Yeah, I think the animals would be fine without
Right, everything would be fine, and in fact, it gets
Most
worse.
places, the animals we're not there.
It gets worse when we read the following psukim, which indicate that there's actually no need for man to daven, because you have natural irrigation. That's the next psukim. Ve'ed yalam min ha'aretz v'hishkat kol pnei adama. Everything got the water that it needed without Adam being there and without rain.
Right.
So how can you tell me there's no rain because there's no man, and we need man to be part of this process? We don't need man to be part of this process. We have natural underwater irrigation that can take care of all this without man being Oved Adama.
And you also need more than just rain.
I saw an explanation of Rabbi Reisman about certain grammatical things that you see in Chumash and how certain words are not real, like they're close but they're not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like the word aye versus apho, like they both mean where. Like ayeka versus apho means like apho hashirutim, like where's the bathroom,
Right.
versus ayeka, where are you, like
More existential.
no, but actually not. He says that the word aye, like aye mekom kvodo or ayeka, or implies a lack of something.
Okay.
Okay, like ayeka, where are you? You're not here. Something's missing here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like ayin, like it could be that, like it could have said ha'adam, like, but not ein adam, but there. Velohi Adam, like there wasn't a man, like okay, but it says ayin, meaning implying that there's a lack because there wasn't a man there, whereas apho just means like where, location wise, is this thing it's here, it exists, it's around, I need you to point it out to me, right?
Interesting.
Whereas aya implies a lack. That's what he said.
Okay, I hear that, but I don't see the lack.
Right, but I'm saying that the pasuk is implying
that there's
the man,
lack.
that there is a lack because the man isn't there.
I hear you.
I don't know why. We don't know why yet, because it's a restatement of our question.
Right.
Why is the pasuk saying ayin, implying, hey, there's a man missing from the picture?
Right.
When everything's hunky dory without it.
Right.
Or seems like that.
Okay. Pasuk 7. So Hashem Elohim forms the Adam from Afar, they have over here, formed the human from the soil's humus. Vayipach ba'apav nishmas chayim, blows into his nostrils the breath of life. and Adam becomes a living being. The only thing I will point out is the dramatic contrast between this creation of man and creation of man in the last parak, which was Hashem says that we should. He speaks to the entourage, the royal, malachim, whatever it is, that we're going to make a man bitzalmenu kidmusenu. He's going to be godly. And here I'm going to take
a bunch of dirt,
the least godly thing, right? I'm going to take a bunch of ground and I'm going to make a potter's,
and I'm going to blow in something awesome, but
Right, but it's there, you don't get any sense of Tselem Elokim over here the way you did in the last parak.
Right, but I'm saying the earth and it's like a brand new Cadillac. Everything's
it's almost like a golem.
Created. It's not like
I don't know. It's almost like a golem here. It's not like
the golem is.
It's a
shiny new.
Shiny new what? The ground's never till. It's like really nice ground.
It's just brand new creation. It's just a brand new toy.
It's like
the last parak, there was no mention of making him from the ground at all. It was let's make someone who's bitzalmenu kitmusenu, who's like us.
Right. It's like the owner of the company saying, "Let me introduce you to my new CEO." Versus like the glassblower analogy. Like I'm gonna make an action figure. Now it's gonna walk around and do stuff.
But I'm saying that's the natural separation between Adam and Malachim, right? So how are you going to tie Adam, who's earthly or for this earth, from the?
No, I think you're exactly right. That's why Parak Bet is different than Parak Aleph. The whole point of Parak Bet is to put Adam into the world. He's gonna be in Gan Eden. He has to work the ground. He comes from the ground. He's human. Last Parak. Not as much. That's the only point I'm trying to make.
And again, you have the interplay between the word Adam and Adama.
Right.
Right.
Right. That's why he's Adam, because he comes from the Adama. Okay. Pasuk 8. Unless anyone has any other points for Pasuk 7. Vayita Hashem. So Hashem planted this garden in Eden, wherever that is. Well, it's to the east of something. And he places the Adam there that he made, as opposed to.
Well, I was gonna say, but on the previous pasuk on Zion, the nefesh chaya is almost evocative of chayat hasadeh, like kind of almost beastly.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a beastliness to it. That's just something that I felt when I read it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anyhow, back to God planting.
So my question for Pasuk Ches is, Vayasem sham et ha'adam asher yatzar. How many other Adams are there?
Right. He planted the man that God made. There were a bunch of other men that God didn't make, but
Right. Good.
I mean, it's interesting that because what you're saying is you don't need the last two words of the pasuk.
Yes.
You have the identical syntax and idea from Vayasem Sham et Adam from what we said previously,
Mm-hmm.
right? Why is it mentioning again that God formed this guy?
Who cares that it's east?
Yeah.
I agree with
east
you.
of what?
I agree.
East of.
Right, who cares? There's no cities, there's no directions. I agree. That's a great question. I think that's a very important question. Why do we care about directions? In the several of these, when it's telling us about the rivers, who cares? North, south, east, west?
So we're gonna get to that.
Yeah.
John Steinbeck has an answer for that.
Oh, I want to hear.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's go to Pasuk 9. Probably the most important pasuk, at least in this parak. So God causes all of the
sprouts
to sprout now,
right.
Which we said before we needed the man, but okay, now everything just sprouts. And it is nechmad lamare v'tov lamachal. It's awesome, right? Pleasing to the sight and good for food. So, and then there are these two other trees that get special call out. The Eitz HaChaim, which is in
the tree of life.
Right, the Eitz HaChaim, and then Eitz Hadat Tovara. What is that?
The tree of the knowledge. First, right. So first of all, why are they trees? Okay. Why
I
doesn't
like
it?
that.
Right. Like. Okay, great. These represent these inner deep ideas about some kind of aspect of human knowledge or the human condition. Why is it likened to a tree?
Okay.
Okay, I mean, if it's indeed metaphorical, I mean, assuming it's a literal tree with magical spiritual powers, okay, fine, it happens to be a tree, but why is it a tree?
Okay. Other questions on Pasuk 9.
Where's the rain?
Oh,
Where's the rain?
right.
Right. Why is God sprouting things without rain?
Right, I think this makes the previous question even stronger. Like, it seems to be like, yeah, but there's no man. But like, by the way, everything works by itself and I'm going to do everything. But like, there's no man. It's, all right, something's missing. Like, like, there's no man to work it. Like, you guys totally need to work. Everything's working on its own, but you should totally be working the field.
Right.
It's almost like with Parnassa. Like, you got to put in your 12 hours a day. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's totally out of your hands.
Okay.
Other
questions on Pasuk 9 before we move on to the rivers?
Maybe that's the idea we're supposed to get from this, that God is in control of Parnassa,
Okay. All right. I'm going to just lump 10 through 14 together. And I think the essential question is, what do we need any of this information for?
Right.
It seems like a complete tangent and not valuable information.
Right, and why does the pasuk need to tell us that the river nourishes the garden? Isn't that what rivers do? I mean, do I need to know that the river is the source of nourishment for the garden? What about the dew that's in the soil? Something is telling me that this river is nourishing this garden.
Right.
And then from there, it separates.
Right.
Why do I care that it separates?
And it's so much of a tangent that when you get back to 15, we have to get reminded that God did something that we were already told he did. God in 15 does the same thing that he does in, where is it? In 8. In 8, we have Vayasam Shaman Ha'adam Asher Yatzar. He placed in Gan Eden the man that he made. That's Pasuk 8. Pasuk 15. Vayikach Hashem Elokim et ha'adam, vayinicheu began Eden la'avda u'lashamra.
God takes him and he rests him. He sets him down.
Right. This time he puts him there to avda u'lashamra.
Right.
So 15 is a repetition of 8.
It's just using different words though. It's clearly vayasem means really to put, right?
Right.
Right.
Did he put him there twice? Did he put him there differently 2 different times?
Right.
He put him in and took him out and showed him there's these 4 rivers and now back.
Yeah, could be.
The other question that I wanted to mention on 15 is, what is la'avda u'lashamra?
To work and guard. Like, who's he guarding it against?
Right.
Right? Presumably right now, right?
Maybe it's from those other people that he didn't make.
Right.
In Pasuk 8.
Right.
Any other?
I mean, the beast of the
takers?
field, it looks like he's pretty tight giving the succeeding psukim. Like, they're walking up to him and he's naming them. You can assume that he's probably not going to have to attack it.
Right.
Right, who's he guarding from?
Oh, I just lost my battery.
And again, why does he need to work?
Why? Can you give me the?
The power cable?
Actually, give me the that micro. We'll just use that.
Oh. You don't want to get a power cable to charge it?
Where are we? 15?
2:15. I'm still hung up on, the river ones.
Right.
I want to know about the gold. Why are you telling me about gold? Okay.
Or the other precious stones.
Huh?
Or the other precious stones.
Right. Who cares? Right? What are you telling me that this is where the buried treasure is?
But it reads like a map.
Reads like a map, right? It reads like a place that it's trying to give you very specific information about.
Right.
Not like, oh, there are some rivers, but I want to tell you what's there and where they go around and how they split. And
Right.
I'm giving you more information than if I just wanted to tell you, oh, by the way, there's rivers
Right.
somewhere not in Gan Eden.
And not for nothing, okay? If you're going to tell me that one of the rivers goes around the entire land of Cush, and one is around the entire land of Assyria, Okay,
They're really big.
These are really big places, farther than most people traveled in their lifetimes, at least at the time the Torah was given.
Right.
Okay, so like, why are you giving me this grand epic scale if you're gonna give me like specific instructions about a place you want me to be familiar with? Like, why don't you tell me about like the corner pharmacy and be like, it's like right over there, it's that creek that's right behind your farm, and like, here's the thing. Like, why are you giving me these grand maps and like to somebody
Right.
for whom they probably mean nothing? And to us nowadays, it's not so huge like on a global scale, but it's just like
It was the whole ancient,
right.
whatever they
ancient
called it,
world.
the Middle Basin.
Yeah, the cradle of man or whatever.
Right. Okay, so 16. Hashem commands the Adam not to eat. I'm sorry, he commands the Adam eat from all of the trees. Then, by the way, from the Eitz Hadat Tovara, don't eat from it. Because on the day that you do eat from it, you will certainly die. Are we okay with that?
Mm-hmm. Not really, but okay.
No. Okay, let's hear.
Well, first of all, like Eli, Rabbi Allen, would always comment that the first thing God said is, "You can eat anything here." That's the first thing he says. It's
Mhm.
not like he's not saying don't eat the thing. He's saying eat everything. It's awesome. And then he's like, but just this one thing, just don't over here.
Right.
You know?
Right, but you know that every psychologist will tell you the second you can do you can have every toy in the store, but you can't have that toy.
Uh-huh.
What is the only thing I care about now?
Right. But the flip side to that is, okay, the whole idea is that, you know, God's generosity and sort of expansiveness is kind of underplayed because of this whole Tovara tree situation. It's like God's telling you, you know what? Everything. You got you've got the golden ticket, right?
Mhm.
Or is Willy Wonka right?
Yeah,
It was
golden ticket.
ticket,
Golden
right?
ticket.
You can eat anything in the thing, the gobstoppers and the this and the that. See, I was paying attention with EO, right?
Very good.
All right, but like the whole thing, you got the keys to the city.
Right.
Okay, just there's one thing, you know,
Right.
and it's like
Show me that you can listen to this one thing. Right.
but
Like
not
I'm
even
asking
that.
you.
Like why not? Why is maybe like why is God giving the instructions all at once? Like why not just put it?
Well,
If God really wanted to enter into a conversation with man about the tree of knowledge of good and evil, like he could have just as easily said, everything's for you, nothing's off limits, go nuts, and then put a wall around the tree of Tovarah, and then Adam could be like, God, what's this?
okay.
Like
If he didn't want him to eat it, why put it out there at all?
right.
And also the
Classic question.
the syntax. You have two trees that are specified in the earlier psukim, right?
Mm-hmm.
And only one tree now.
Yeah, I think that's really, really insightful. He can eat from the Eitz HaChaim.
Right.
In fact, he doesn't need to eat from the Eitz HaChaim
Now you have no idea how
because
to do that.
unless he eats from the Eitz Hadat, he's going to live forever.
Right.
Why is there even an Eitz HaChaim?
Right.
Doesn't the Eitz HaChaim assume,
Right.
right? If you're telling me on the day that you eat from this thing you will die, so then I can pretty much assume that unless I do anything else, I'm pretty good. Or you can read it the other way. You better eat from the Eitz HaChaim every single day, right? Or at least once. I don't know if it's a magical tree that you have to eat once from, or you have to eat it every single day. It's the fountain of youth. I don't know. But if I'm Adam, and the second I hear there's death, I'm like, whoa, I don't want death. Death is bad. Let's just go eat from the tree that's anti-death.
But who says that death is bad?
Why would God warn me not to do this? Because if you do that, death, there has to be some understanding of what that means, right?
Okay, but again, why are you inferring it as bad?
God seems to infer it as bad. Don't do this, because if you do this,
You'll
something
die.
bad will happen.
Don't do this, or otherwise you'll die. Okay.
Right?
But
If that's
the-
good,
but-
then I would go for it. God's not saying, don't do this, because if you do it, something amazing is going to happen. There's some implication that it's undesirable.
In God's view, it's
Yes.
Huh.
The tree of life disappears, and it doesn't reappear until the end of Parak Gimel. Weird.
Yeah, it's in the center.
It's right.
And the
We
other
went
one,
out of
we're
our-
not sure where the other one is.
We-
It could be in
right.
the center.
It
It could be
somewhere.
in the center.
Right,
it
now
could be
that
in
you
the
screwed up, now you can't have the tree of life anymore, and it's just like, wait a minute, you know.
And
Right.
Adam, presumably, when he was placing it in, he was probably placing the center. It's just a guess.
A natural.
Right, like put him right in the middle. So he's like hiking out
Well,
to the
if
outskirts.
I guess it depends. Where do you think the Eitz Hadat Tovara is? If you think it's in the center with the Eitz HaChaim, that's one thing. But
I
if
don't
the
think
Eitz Hadat is, I don't know, it's in the back corner.
I think it's in the in the haunted forest, like
Right.
at the end,
Right.
like you have to take a real long.
Yeah, right. You have to go down the dark path
Yeah.
and.
Third floor men's suits.
I
Yeah,
love that.
I had an idea about that, but it would take a long time to explain.
Okay. So we just went through the Eitz Hadat Tovara, and then the very next pasuk tells us there's something that is also lo tov. And that thing that is lo tov, only God knows that it's lo tov. Man doesn't say, hey,
I'm lonely.
right. He doesn't say I'm lonely until he meets all the animals. God says you're lonely. I should really do something about that. And what God does about that in pasuk Yatet, so
Surgery.
no.
No,
What God does
he
about it
brings
in
the
pasuk
animals
Yatet
first.
is introduces him to a cast of characters. Meet the animals.
Right. Here's Jerry the giraffe and Gary
Right.
the gopher. And,
Well,
you know,
here's I don't know. You tell me what it is.
and
Here's
Marco
this
the
thing I
monarch
made,
butterfly,
and here's something else that I
whatever.
made.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're running a little late, so let's just maybe finish up, and then we can go to try to get to some answers next week. So he brings all these animals to see what man's going to call them, and then after man does that, he calls them all names in pasuk Chav, and that's when man realizes that he doesn't have an Ezer Kenegdo. So once man realizes that, then God has to perform surgery. He knocks him out. He doesn't make this person from the Adamah. He makes her from him, which is an interesting choice. He
Right.
could have very easily made her from the Adamah also, but she gets made from human, and he brings her to him, and then Adam names himself,
Well,
sort
he-
of
right.
backwardsly.
Right. He also, we should know, God closes the surgical wound.
Yes.
Okay, which is interesting that they mention that. It's like you would assume, like if you walk around like with half your side blown out, like those of us in the medical field know that's usually not a good
Suboptimal.
situation. Yeah, suboptimal.
So the Adam now this is actually I think it's the first time he speaks, right?
Incidentally, by the way, just I have to say it.
Yeah.
Okay. From this pasuk, we have a famous saying. We know that God is a surgeon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like there's a joke that says, what's the difference between God and a surgeon? God doesn't think he's a surgeon. A surgeon thinks he's.
Got it.
Yeah.
So
But God is a surgeon.
yeah. So now we get the first actual quote of man speaking, and man says, "Okay, now we're talking. We have something that came from me, and she's mine." This is a very self-centered pasuk, right? Etzem mi'atzma ubasar mibsari lezot yikra isha. I'm going to call this Isha because Me'ish is the first time he's referred to himself as Ish.
Right.
This is where he's naming himself. He named all the other animals. Now he names himself vis-a-vis the Isha, which comes from the Ish.
Right. I want to know, why does he say this time? Does that referring to all the animals who?
That's what it seems like. All the other animals were not Ezer Kenegdo. This one is.
Yeah, but it's
this one he doesn't say is Ezer Kenegdo. He says this one is Isha.
Right.
He never says, "Oh, now I found an Ezer Kenegdo." Like that would be a nice closing of the. Okay,
Yeah.
let's just get through the last two psukim. We get this aside, right? Like in a play, this is like the soliloquy. We're talking to the audience here. Alkein Yazov Ish et Aviv ve'et imo is outside of the narrative. This is, by the way, what happens now. People leave their father and mother, and the davak b'ishto. You'll have this on Shavuos with Rus, the Rus davkabo, that Rus clings to her, and they become basar echad, right? They started off as basar echad, and then when they get back together, they become basar echad. And then you have the two people who are naked, and by the way, they are Adam and Ishto. Below Yitboshashu, and they are not embarrassed. Now, this will be a very clear play on words, but it's going to take us 2 weeks to get there, so I'll just point it out. The next pasuk starts with, the pasuk ends with V'ayushneim arumim, and they are both naked. Pasuk, Parak Gimel pasuk Aleph starts with V'hanachash haya arum mikol chayan hasadeh. The nachash is arum, but here it doesn't mean naked, it means clever or cunning.
Right.
But there's definitely a play on words between the last pasuk of that parak and the first of Parak Gimel. Okay, Yashir Koach.